Welcome to the Elevate and Execute podcast, where the big question is this: how do we elevate our lives and our businesses to do more? We talk about real estate, life, and whatever the hell we want. Welcome to the show.
Today's a big day. Today's a special day for us. We have a special guest. We have Lindsay Whitaker with us. Lindsay is a real estate mogul, truly, in St. Louis. So thank you for joining us. For those who just breeze past our podcast, this is one you want to listen to. So go to our actual podcast, which is Elevate and Execute. So go find us on any platform. This is a good one for you to listen to because you're going to get a wealth of knowledge today, because Lindsay truly is a wealth of knowledge. I want to kind of go back to how I originally met you. I don't even think you realize I started stalking you years ago. And
I think I remember when you told me we met at that airplane hangar. I remembered you from that because I remember you came up to me and you were like, we started talking about cars or something, right. And you were like, "This is a crappy car." I was like, "Oh, yeah." We just started going about cars.
Well, you had the Cardone 10X sticker on your Ferrari, and Lindsay had my dream car, the Ferrari. It was the 488, right?
Yeah, it was the 488.
And I go, I'm a car guy. I'm like, I love that car. And what did you say to me?
I said it's a piece of crap.
It deflated me. I go, no, don't tell me that. She's
Yeah.
like, no, I hate that car. I'm like, but originally I started stalking her because of her car. Like, she always had these great supercars. And then I started doing a little bit of homework on Lindsay, and to find out at that time you owned a lot of doors, 700 at least at that time.
I think around then we were probably 500 to 700. So.
And today,
how old are you, Lindsay?
I just turned 34.
She had a birthday.
So.
My wife and I got to celebrate Lindsay's birthday with her. So ironically, since that day, and we'll get into how our relationship progressed, but it's been awesome. We've become friends, and Brian and I kind of went all in on an apartment complex after getting burned on a deal. We were like, okay, we trust her. She says all the right things, but not only does she say the right things, she does the right things, and we'll get into the nuts and the bolts of it. But kind of before we do that, and I know this about you, but I want you to share it. Like, tell us where you came from, which I know was the insurance business, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I used to work at Domino's Pizza. I used to deliver pizzas in my 20s, and then I went to nursing school for like 2 years. Long story short, once we got to like clinicals, this old man like crapped all over the wall, and I was like, yeah, I don't think this is for me anymore. So I dropped out. And that's when I went to State Farm. I became a salesperson. I think I was making like $14 an hour. And I got so good at sales that American Family approached me and they were like, "Hey, do you want an agency?" And I was like, yeah, I was 24 and I was like, I think you can make money selling insurance. So I started doing that, and I was really, really good at selling insurance. I made all the trips, I did all the things with sales. But this guy came in, and I remember what got me in real estate. It was back when I was selling life insurance, and this kid that was my age came in. I think he was like 24 or 25 at the time. And I was trying to sell them a life insurance policy. And whenever you sell life insurance, you have to ask their income. You have to ask everything about them because the company wants to know what kind of risk you are, like if they want to sell it to you or not. This kid was my age, and he was like, "Okay, I make $80,000 a month." And I was sitting there, and I'm like 24, and I was like, "Wait a minute, you mean $80,000 a year, right? Your salary's $80,000 a year." He's like, "No, a month." I was like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "Screw this life insurance. Like, I'm just gonna take this all in." And he owned rental property. Like, his dad got him in it. He started doing it on his own, but he was making $80,000 a month.
So that was the truth. He was
Yes.
legit.
Yes, he had to show it to me because he did buy a policy that day. I got a huge commission off of it. And the second I knew how much he made, I was like, oh, I'm about to get a big policy out of this one, But when I saw that, I was working 60, 70 hours a week, selling all day long. And you guys know, like in sales, if you don't sell, you don't get paid. It's commission.
You eat what you kill.
Yeah, they don't give you like a base or anything. Like it's based on your sales. So if you don't get sales that week, you're just like, okay, work harder next week. So once I saw that guy making all that money, I was like, I am in the wrong business again. Like the nursing didn't work, because I don't want to deal with that stuff. And then I'm working 70 hours a week, and this
But
guy.
you were making good money, right?
Yeah, I was. I think I was making a little over $100,000 a year in my 20s, which was good for me.
Damn good money, yeah.
But it's at an expense of your time. Like
right.
it's 70 hours a week. Like I was there. I was the opener to the closer, and then you're going through staff and you're training, and it's just like an endless, thing. And the company kept raising rates, and different things were happening. And I was like, I really just want control of my time. And so that's when we started looking into real estate, and that's kind of when we hopped in. Is we started with a little 4-family in North St. Louis.
So your first property was a 4-family.
It was North St. Louis. Me and my wife, we had $30,000 saved at that time, and we decided instead of putting it down on a wedding, that we were going to get married at the courthouse, which we did. So we went to the courthouse. There was criminals all around us the day we got married. They were all there for like their court date, and we had to walk past them all to go get married.
What a fairy tale wedding.
My wife was in a wedding dress. There was like guys were like, "Man, you look beautiful," and they were all there for court, like because they were in trouble. And I was like,
They're photobombing.
"Yeah." I was like, "I am so sorry. I didn't know there was going to be people there. I thought we just walked in and like got it done." But we took the $30,000, we put it down on the 4-unit off Page, and we started there. Like I closed. I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, crap, like what do I do now? What if somebody calls me with a leak? I don't even know what to do. But that was the first property that we bought. And then within the last 5 years, we just kept buying, moving up. And
So let's go back to that 4-family. So when you bought the 4-family, was it profitable? Was it cash flowing?
It was. That property was paying me about $500 a month, which at the time I thought that was good. Like it was a little over $100 a door. I paid $160 for it. The first thing we did, like we went in and we kind of were just learning how to manage at that point. So I didn't even bump anybody's rents or do anything. I just wanted everybody to stay put. But I owned that property for a little over 2 years, and we started utilizing utility reimbursement. And so I would add $45 a month onto the rent there. And then at that point, everybody stayed, everybody was paying, but an 8-unit in the city came up, and I was like, okay, well, 8 is better than 4. So we threw the 4-unit up for sale, and I threw it up for $190. So I made a $45,000 profit on that, and that was the most money I'd ever gotten in one transaction ever, because I had put the $30,000 down. And then we transitioned into an 8-unit.
Okay.
How long did you own the 4-family before you went
Before
to the 8?
2 years.
2 years. Okay.
Yep. I owned it for 2 years.
And at that time, when you had the 4-family, because this guy comes in and he's like, I'm making $80,000 a month.
Right.
Did you know how many doors he had to get to that?
I didn't know to ask that.
Okay.
Like when he told me, hey, I make $80,000 a month, and I was like, what do you do? I didn't even know what to ask. I was like, well, okay. Like I didn't even know to be like, how many doors? Like, what does that look like? What kind of properties? I just knew he owned real estate, and that I could see that he was bringing in $80,000 a month. But I didn't even know at that time the appropriate questions to ask.
Well, and I think what it makes me think of is like, I remember our first 4-family on Shaw was it.
I
right?
remember.
So anyways.
Everyone remembers
Right, and you're like,
first,
this
and it's
is
not
a
good.
nightmare. So
Yeah.
like, whenever you
Yeah.
bought this first 4-family, were you thinking like, this is step 1 of 100, like to get to so many doors that I can make $80,000 a month? Because I think people go in with, I'm going to buy this 4-family. Okay, I got that accomplished. Now, how do I from there? And I'm having all these problems with this one 4-family.
Yep.
How do I stay motivated, and how do I go from a 4-family to owning hundreds of units in a short amount of time? Like I think that's one of the things that's unique and remarkable about what you guys have done, is that you had the confidence to just go after it and continue to scale. So at that time, were you thinking, I know this is 4, it kind of parts of it suck, but we need to get to
Yeah.
300 or whatever the goal was at that time. Like,
No, and that's a really good question because I think a lot of people, and I did the same exact thing. Like I sat down and I was at my insurance office and I'm like doing all this math and I'm like, okay, cool, I'm making $500 a month. And at that time, I was like, if I could get to 20, like I thought 20 was the biggest deal. Like, and I remember it. I told everybody in my office, I was like, if I could get to 20, I am set. I am good. My life is going to be amazing. And I knew it. I was like, 20 is the goal. Like, I will be retired at that point. Like, I'm done.
see you suckers.
Yeah, I was like, screw everybody. If I get to 20, no one's going to hear from me
So
ever
just
again.
20 doors, right?
20,
Okay,
yeah, because I was
okay.
doing the math. I'm like, okay, like at that time, my expenses, were a lot lower than they are now.
course, yes.
I'm 24. I just bought a $200,000 house in St. Charles. Like, I don't have a fancy car. I'm driving a Malibu. Like I didn't really have a lot of expenses. No kids, nothing like that. But I knew once I got to 20, so that was my goal, 20. Then I found a creative finance deal. I found a 24 unit in Breckenridge.
Let's back up.
Yep.
You're like me. You're all over the place. So
Yeah.
You buy this 8 family.
Yes, we traded the 4 to the 8.
Okay, so
now
stepped
I've got 8 units.
Now you have 8
Did
doors.
you do like a 1031 exchange?
I did. I figured out how to do that. The
Okay.
realtor
Early
like
on.
yeah, the realtor like told me, "Hey, you need to roll the money." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"What does that mean?" And he basically said, "Here, contact an intermediary." I was like, "What does that mean?" Like I didn't know anything.
And what does that mean? Because
So-
for people that have no clue what a 1031 exchange is or what an intermediary
Sure. So
is.
a 1031 is when you can take the proceeds from a sale and you essentially have to offset your taxes. You can do that indefinitely by trading it into another property, but you have to roll the full amount to get the benefits. So you can't sell a property, take your profit, and just walk away. The government's going to tax you on that. So you basically, if you want to grow, every time you sell for a profit, you need to roll it into something bigger and better so that you're not getting taxed.
If it's not a primary residence, and it costs
Right.
to do a 1031, it's about $2,000, isn't it?
Yeah, the intermediary, they charge a percentage, and it's actually it's based on the contract now. Like I remember the price is fluctuating, but every time we do it, it's based on the contracts that you're trading out in now.
Oh, so it's
So-
more than $2,000 if you
Yeah.
get into bigger
Well, when you get
values.
into the millions,
Yes.
yeah, which makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the intermediary, it's basically the person that they have to hold. It's kind of like a title company in a way. They have to hold your sale funds so they don't get diluted in any way or manipulated. And then they can take your funds and use that towards your new purchase. So it's like the placeholder for your money when you sell.
Got it.
So once you bought that 8 family, did you go from making $100 a door to $150 a door, or were the numbers about the same, but you just increased it by 4 because now you're making
Yeah, so
$800 a month?
On that
$400 a
one,
month?
I was making a lot more. I was making and I just remembered the number. I was making about $3,000 a month on 8 units. So
Okay.
whatever that breaks down to be, and I remember
That was pretty
that.
good.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
good
it
return.
was.
yeah.
Well, it was an
On
older.
45,000 you're making.
Yeah.
That's damn good ROI.
Yeah, and again back then I didn't even really know what that meant. I was like 3,000 sounds good to me. That
Yeah.
pays all my bills,
Right.
and it was an older lady. I remember she'd owned it since the beginning of time, and she just wanted to get out. She was older, like having health issues, so we bought the 8 unit from her, and of course it needed a bunch of different things, but for us, we were willing to take the risk. So we did double in units, pretty quick. And once I did that first double, I was like, that's when it clicked for me. Okay, I can go from 4 to 8. Now I just need to go from 8 to 16, 16 to 32. And that's kind of what we've done is we've just kept doubling. And, the strategy changes along the way. But after we bought that 8 unit, we did our first creative finance deal, and I actually found it because I was getting work done at my 8 unit. We were getting something with the asphalt done, and the worker was like, "Hey, my mom has a 24 unit. Our dad just died. He ran the apartments. She doesn't want to deal with them." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't have any money for 24 units at that time, We started speaking with her, and after I ran all the numbers, I drove over to the property. I mean, it was in such rough shape, like
Where's it at?
Breckenridge Hills.
Same area you're in.
Yeah, same because I started out in North County because you could buy property like really, really cheap. But we went out there, and again, I'm not even very experienced at that time, but you could tell nobody was paying rent. Like, you could just tell. If you go to a property and there's 10 people sitting on the porch, they're all drinking, and there's trash everywhere, and you can just tell the tenant quality wasn't good. So, I mean, I just started Googling stuff, and I threw it out there. I was like, look, no one's going to get a loan on this. Like, I kind of just scared her. I'm like, no one's going to get a loan on this.
You're being honest.
Yeah, I was. I was like, there is no way.
I'm going to take this headache from you. So
exactly.
At the 8 family, because I know your systems now, and we'll get to that, but like if there was a leak in the plumbing, did they call you at that point? And then
they did.
Okay.
Yeah, back then I had my phone, and then I bought a separate phone, which in the very beginning, when they first had my cell phone number, that was the worst thing I could have ever done for myself. Like, I wanted to just die. Everybody contacts you 24 hours a day, so I finally got a second phone. But then you're like lugging around 2 phones everywhere you go, and you're kind of in reactive mode because you're always scared, like, is there a leak? Is there a fire? Is there this? And you just feel like a weight all the time because your phone just is blowing up. So, yeah, everything. We were doing everything.
The cold nights, like, oh, God, please don't let a pipe break. Please don't let a pipe break.
Yeah, just problems I didn't even know you could have.
Yes,
I started having.
yes.
Squirrels.
Yes,
I mean, that's what we're dealing with that like constantly.
Well, the noise complaints, people complaining about the
Babysitting.
neighbors, and I'm just like, is this my problem? Am I supposed to take care of these adults? Like,
But you stuck with it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you did a sub 2 on this one. So what was the finance? So she did a carryback on it and owner finance?
So she owner financed the whole thing. So I basically said, hey, I ran the numbers on it, and I was like, I will give you $1.3 million, but you have to take payments on this. I'm going to give you it was like $7,900 a month. Like, I gave myself, I said, hey, 4% interest, 25 years, and I showed them all the numbers. Since the dad died, there was 4 siblings that was going to inherit the property. They wanted monthly payments because they didn't want to fight over the big chunk of money of somebody buying the property. So for me, I got really lucky because they were willing to take payments. So
no money down.
No money down. They had to give me $20,000 at closing for the deposits. And again, I didn't even know that at the time. Oh. I didn't know that I was.
What's this?
Yeah, no.
So the title company knew, I guess, when you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whenever we got our closing statement, she accepted the offer. She's like, "Yep, we just don't want to deal with it anymore. I'm so sick of this." They were sick of it. The husband ran it, and when he died, they just kind of got left with it, and they didn't know how to manage it.
And it was paid off, I'm assuming.
It was paid off.
Okay.
Yep. So we get the closing statement, and they had to come out of pocket $20,000, which to me at the time didn't make sense. I'm like, wait, they have to pay me to take over the property?
They didn't have that money from the deposits?
They didn't keep it. They spent it. Yeah.
Wow.
So she did.
Did they have it?
She
they have
did.
the money?
She did because the dad had life insurance and he just died. They got a little bit of money. They were willing to pay just to get the property off their books.
Was it a surprise to them, do you think, what you offered? Do you think they thought it was worth that much money?
I don't think that they cared at that point. Like, and I even thought, like, to me, I only had a little 8 unit that was $300,000. So for me to even make $1 million offer, I was like scared.
Sure.
I was like, is it worth 1.3? I don't know. But I ran the numbers. I'm like, I think I can figure this out at this number, even though I really didn't know.
Yeah.
I just knew I had to get it filled up because it was like 60% vacant. So
how were the units? Were they in decent shape, or were they
not really? No,
most of them were really bad.
Where did you get the capital to fix up those units?
Me and Carly did all of it.
Did it yourself?
Yes, we bought the paint. We painted. We
kidding.
Cleaned. We did, and trust me, I am not a maintenance person. I can't even screw in a light bulb. I can't. Yeah. My wife did 90% of the, she can take a toilet apart. She can do all that, and she's a girly girl, she can do all that. I was just the laborer. I just painted, cleaned. And I remember we got all the units done within a month.
That's impressive.
But we worked every day after work and the weekends. We got them all done.
So you still had your insurance?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was running insurance all day long, and I was like, okay, now I have to figure the real estate out.
Were you listening to anybody? Was like Grant Cardone?
Okay. That's it. I had him up on the TV in my office all day long. But he teaches the investment stuff.
Correct.
He's not teaching the management side at all.
No, he breaks down the numbers and he does an amazing job at it, but he doesn't tell you the back end, which is the bad stuff.
Well, and I wish he would because, like, and I followed him for 10 years now, but he's like, cool, here's how you structure it. And anybody can get really good at that. But then once you take over, he doesn't tell you, here's how you make it profitable. Like, he doesn't even say how he managed the deals. Did he hire somebody?
No,
Did
correct.
he?
He's never
manage them?
talked
I have
about
no
that.
idea. I really
You're-
still don't know to this
Nobody
day.
does because he doesn't talk about it. You're
And
exactly right.
that's kind of crazy
Yeah.
though, because I'm a huge supporter of him, but managing is like number one whenever you take over. Anybody can buy a property, but you can run it right into the ground.
And you have your systems down. And again, we'll get to that because your
Yep.
systems are the most impressive thing because right now, how many doors do you own?
We have 711 right now.
It's amazing.
Yeah, we had more, but we kind of went, you sell off stuff that's not performing and trade in, and we've got different strategies than when we started. Now it's not about door count, it's about profit per door. Like, I'd rather have less doors that make more money now. Door count now doesn't even matter anymore. There's guys that have 400 doors that make double what I make.
Yeah, and we talk about this sometimes as a strategy I don't understand where these guys are going and buying these single family homes and they're making $100 a door on these single family homes.
Yeah.
I'm like, Cardone says it. You could stand at the corner of the highway and make
Yeah.
more money and have zero risk. That makes
Well, in
zero
single
sense to me.
family home, I think people start there because they don't really know what else to do, and the multifamily scares them. But like, I even own some houses now from years ago that I bought, and I hate the houses. I hate them. One little thing goes wrong, your profit for it could be 2 or 3 years gone.
You are exactly
Like,
correct.
and then the turnovers on houses, like when they leave, it's $6-7 grand instead of a little, $500-600 paint job
That is
in a
true.
unit.
It's
horrible.
Yeah, we're going through that as we speak.
Yeah, so we don't do single family houses at all anymore. We'll wholesale. If we get something thrown at us, we'll be like, hey, somebody take it. But we don't do it at all. It's a distraction for us.
Smart.
And you have a hotel, right?
We've got
Tell us about that.
we call it Airbnb. It's basically a boutique motel. Yeah, it's the first project we've ever done like that. I won't do another because it was so much work. But again, I think as real estate people, we all want to dip our toe in all the different things. There's wholesaling, multifamily, single family, Airbnb. Like, you kind of try everything and see what works. So our hotel's doing great. Divine Otter on Main Street.
Yeah, give a plug for it. I was
Yeah,
gonna
it's a
say.
cool place.
absolutely.
Yeah, super cool place.
It is.
Yeah.
You guys really paid attention to detail and
Yeah.
made it a theme. It looks really cool.
And there's nothing down there, so you really have a niche product.
Yeah, we're the only, the fire department, they wanted to come practice on our building because they said we're the only hotel on the actual strip.
That's
so
amazing.
it was a lot of hoops to jump through with St. Charles. I didn't anticipate how much work of jumping through all the hoops, but now that we've gotten through it, it does really, really well. But I think it's location that matters with that.
Yeah.
Like, you guys know, with Airbnb, everywhere else, they're trying to shut down Airbnbs.
Yes.
They don't want people doing them anymore. So I think if you're going to do it, it needs to be zoned commercial or at least mixed use, or else I wouldn't touch it.
Good nugget.
Yeah,
So
that is
take that
great
advice and
right
run
there.
right there.
Yeah, I
Yes.
wouldn't touch it unless it's commercial or mixed use, because if it's zoned residential, they can pull that
They'll
plug.
get you. Yep.
Yeah, and there's nothing you can do.
You're
Increase
done.
taxes.
Yeah,
They
you're
can tax you
yes,
as a
yeah,
commercial
yeah.
property, even though it's residential.
We've learned that the hard way.
Yeah.
So not to go off track, but I want to go back to the 8 family. So you have this 8 family. Now you have your 4 family. You get the 8 family stabilized.
Yep.
Do you keep that 8 family? Or is
Yeah,
it,
I
okay.
actually kept that for a couple years. It was doing so well. And then we had bought that 24 unit with the creative finance. So I think at that time I was a little over 30 something units. So again, I hit the 20 within my first year.
You're at your goal.
Wow.
You're
Yeah,
retiring.
I was, but
You retired since then?
no, I hit
How's
the
retirement?
Yeah, I
10 years.
No, I thought, again, 20. I was like,
Yeah.
because once you buy like a couple units, you're like, okay, that was kind of hard. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get to that. So your goal is always way lower than it should be. But once we got in the 30s, I was like, this isn't really that much. Like, I was still able to run my business and we were still managing. And I wasn't like, I did replace my income. I was making more on the rental real estate than selling insurance. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll just keep both for a while. And yeah, long story short, we kind of kept doing the seller finance thing. I would just message people on Facebook that had vacancies and
My
stuff
next
like
question. So you've never bought a deal on market, have you? Have you ever bought a deal that was actually listed? Because most of your deals are off market.
I'd say 95% of everything we've done is off market. I'd say the only thing we bought on market, it would probably be more recently if it was something in our area that we really wanted, but almost everything we've done is off market.
And how do you get those off market deals?
So what works for us, like I'm big on Facebook. So like I would go to Marketplace and I would look at people that had apartments for rent. And then I would literally message those people because most times it was the owner. Like most times it was the owner listing their vacancy. And you can tell, you click on it, you see it's on a management company, you see it's a person. Yeah. And I was like, all right, they've got a vacant. That's a pain in the butt. Like, so we would say, hey, I'm not interested in the unit, but are you interested in selling? So we got a bunch of leads that way. I would get a bunch of leads back from Craigslist if you go and say, hey, apartment building for sale. The people, then you have to understand that, like, the people on Facebook, the people on Craigslist, they're older, okay? Like,
it's just... Is it still a good...
Craigslist
is probably
because
out,
you're
right?
still all over Facebook.
No, it still works.
You're right.
Like, because, again, the older people, like, we want to go after tired landlords, like people that have owned it 20-something years. They're sick of it because those are good seller finance candidates because most times they have it paid off.
They want that income.
Exactly. They're scared to sell.
It's like an annuity.
Yeah. And they're scared. Like, they don't want to sell because that's their retirement. So they're, like, just hanging on to it as much as they can. But you give them a solution like, hey, I know you're sick of managing this. I know you are. Like, let's not lie to ourselves.
So let's talk about that because I know any three of us, besides, if you call, it's a different conversation than us three would have. So, most people, because everybody right now wants to do a sub-2 or they talk creative financing.
Yep.
And people are like, are you kidding me? We hear it all every day on single family. It's annoying as hell.
It is
How do
annoying.
you decide, how is your conversation different? Now, I know at this point, you're pretty well known in the industry. So,
but not from grandma who posted one.
That's true. So
what? No idea.
Yeah.
What does that
Exactly.
conversation look like?
Number one, she's a girl. She's not the norm, right? Do you think that has gotten you in the doors because they're like?
I would normally say yes, but, and it's a weird thing to say, not that I don't look like a normal girl, but I'm covered in tattoos.
Right.
So when people hear my voice on the phone, they probably have this picture of me. And then when I show up to their door, they're like, okay, that's not who I expected.
I would
see
agree.
the
Your
shock.
voice, you sound like...
Yeah, she's very calming, very sweet, yes. And then
on the phone,
I would think you're a good singer. Are you a good singer?
No.
You sound like you have a good singing.
No, and it's my phone voice. Like, I have my regular voice and then I have my phone voice, but like on the phone,
it's a hurdle
easier.
that you, because I was going to ask you about your tattoos and people
It is.
probably like, I have not as many as you, and people look at me. They're getting more accepting, and as
at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody says. 100% it affects you, and it is in a negative way. 100%. It just happened to me like 2 months ago. I went to lunch with a new bank that I hadn't worked with before, and the loan officer had met me in person. He brought the bank president with him. And we all met at Ruth Chris. I could tell, like I sat down with the loan officer, and it's a younger guy. Me and him were getting along really well. Everything's good. The bank president walked in. The second he saw me, I could tell. He was like, why did you bring me to this meeting? I could just see it. You can see the micro, like you can read it the second that you see somebody. But by the end of the lunch, he's like, let's take our wives out. Let's do that. Because he got to know me and I could speak. But the second he saw me, I could see it on his face. He was like, no. Like, it is my tattoos. And I have face tattoos. I have finger tattoos. I don't look like somebody that you want to give $5 million to.
Correct.
I don't.
It might have been your Trump hat, actually.
I didn't wear it. I didn't wear it to the bank meeting because you never know with the banks.
Right.
You don't know which way they swing. I wouldn't risk that with the bank, but I can't when my whole body up when I'm eating lunch.
Nor should you.
Nor should you.
Yeah, but it does affect
People
you.
judge.
They do.
Absolutely.
Bank culture is, suit and tie. Everybody.
And they showed up in suit and ties.
That's like the only time in my
until they
real
understand
estate,
what your portfolio looks like, and then their attitude changes.
Once they speak to you, and they could once you start talking about the economy, finances, he's like, I know exactly what you're saying. Like, he understood it at that point. But when he saw me, he's like, why are we here?
Right.
Like, you just wasted my whole
She
afternoon.
knows her shit. Like, you
Yeah.
talk to her for 5 minutes, especially if you know
realize.
anything about multifamily, and she will teach you something, even if you already think you know.
That just sucks. That's how society is. Well, you were telling me when we were at dinner, like you got followed out of Target and asked for our home goods or whatever, and they asked you for your receipt. And you're
No,
like,
me and my wife were leaving. I think she was buying a bunch of home decor crap that we didn't need, and like she always does. But we were leaving, and the guy chased me out. We were in Town and Country, chased me outside, and was like, "Can I see your receipt?" I was like, "Sir, I've never stolen anything in my whole life. Like, trust me, I can buy what's in the cart. Like, here's my receipt." And then it happened again. We went from Home Goods to. It was like TJ Maxx or something. I don't know. Every time I walk in.
Same night?
Yeah, it was at Town and Country. I was like, well, God, do people not have tattoos in Town and Country?
Did you have a
They
t-shirt
don't.
on that said, I'm here to steal?
No, I know. Like, it's normally
What's the
all
deal?
housewives out, and they're all very, like,
Right,
cleaned up and
judgmental.
everything.
Yes,
So
yeah,
I'm walking
yeah,
around, and they're
yeah.
like, she's stealing.
Yeah.
She is stealing. And I'm like, I promise I'm not. I never even buy anything. I just walk around with my wife. I'm like, get what you need. Here's your day. Let's leave. Like,
you just
I'm like on my phone doing
Yeah,
deals,
right.
waiting, and they think I'm like stealing everywhere. I don't get it.
That's
My hand was on my phone. I'm trying to pay for this shit.
But it's also
Crazy.
like for people that know you, like you become a figure, right? Like like people know you because of your tattoos and your cars.
Yeah, and I think people they kind of start attaching certain things to you where they, like you said, they might know Elevate Realty, they might see you as the face or you as the face, and they do kind of attach certain things to your name. But I mean, that's all marketing stuff. That's
Right.
just, if you're a marketer, you understand that and you
I think
use
at
those
this
things.
point, it probably helps you a little bit.
It does, yeah. No, it does help. But again, you want to do it for the right reasons. Like, just because, when I had the cars, it was also a little scary because then people start chasing you around town. I know my wife drove the Ferrari one day to lunch. And that was like the first time I let her drive it. I was so scared. But some guy ran up to her and he kept saying, like, Lindsay, Lindsay, Lindsay. And it was my wife. And
Right.
she's like, I'm not Lindsay. Go away. This is not. But they start to attach you with those
Right.
things.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you got to be careful,
For sure.
So.
You're easy to spot and
Right.
find.
It can be
Yeah.
good and bad.
Yeah, like people know when you're at a certain location, you know.
Yeah.
Which is
So-
scary.
That is
isn't
It
it?
is, yeah. It is. There's
But
some weirdos.
There's worse problems to have than
Yeah.
people knowing your Ferrari.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So when you have that initial conversation, like how do you open up the dialogue to like, hey, are you open to owner financing? Because most people are like, no, click.
Yep, and I never bring that up first because you are going to get rejected. For one, it scares people. People do not understand it, especially people that they might only own one or two buildings. The second you say, will you own or finance, the first thing they think is, I'm scared of that.
Scam.
I don't know you. I don't trust you. Like, they don't get anything about it, so they shut it down.
Yep.
So something I learned in insurance when I was selling policies, everybody was just giving one option. Like, hey, here's what the quote is. I met this other guy that he was giving three options. Like, here's the low coverage, here's the middle coverage, here's the top coverage. He was like selling way more than everybody else. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give them three options every single time. So I would offer cash. It would be a horrible low offer. And I didn't have the cash, but I knew for
Right.
that price I could find it.
Sure.
If it was for that price, right? Then I would offer traditional financing through the bank, and then I would offer seller financing. And I always made the seller financing look so much better because it was always the highest offer. I broke it down, and at that point, by the time you get to that conversation, and this is where everyone messes up, they bring it up right away, and you scare them off. They don't even want to talk to you after that. They're like, you can't even get a loan, like peasant. Like, don't speak to me.
That's a good point.
Good nugget.
Yeah,
So
they
come
just
with options.
Yeah, so
You can't.
yeah,
They think you
yeah,
can't.
they think you're a tire
The
kicker.
only way you can buy it is if they offer you terms, or
Correct.
you offer them terms that it's an owner finance deal.
Exactly.
That's smart that you
Yeah.
come in and go, I can do
Yeah.
this, or this.
That's
Yep.
huge.
And then they kind of look at it and they're like, when they see the seller finance offer at that point, you've already built the rapport, you've already been to the property, you've already asked them all the right questions. Like, you have to ask them, like, why are you selling? Like, a lot of the seller finance people, they're motivated because they want to get out of the business. They're tired of dealing with, tenants, or a lot of them are widows. Tons of them are widows. They don't want to run it anymore.
Or they didn't have anything to do with running in the first place, right?
100%.
And now it's dropped on their lap, and they're like, I have no idea what to do with this.
Yep. And I think the most important thing to ask them is, what are you going to do? Like, do you have plans for the funds after you sell this property? What does that look like for you? And everyone's scared to ask that. They're like, well, that's not my business, what's going on with their money. But I kind of play it as, look, like, what are your plans when you get out of the business? You know, you're going to walk away with X amount of money. What do you think? What are you thinking about? Are you rolling it into another property? And they're like, oh God, no.
So you're going to get killed on taxes.
Exactly. So but you have to set yourself up to be able to explain that.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, once you sell,
Right.
you're going to get screwed
Yeah.
and have to pay all these taxes. You have to say, well, what are your plans with the money after this? Like, are you going to go on vacation or what's the deal? They tell you that is your opening to seller finance. Because now you can say, well, what if you didn't have to go see your accountant after this and a lawyer and pay the taxes and go try to find a new investment into something you don't understand? Like, these people are not financial advisors. They're going to go throw it in a bond or a CD, and that's not even going to give them a good return. By the time you get to that conversation, you're like, I can pay you 6%. I can give you monthly payments. I can take all the stress away. And by the way, there's no risk to you because you're the lien holder. If I screw up, you get your property back.
So they stay on the deed? Do you
They
keep them on the deed? When
I
you,
don't. They're just a lien holder
Okay.
against the
and
deed.
And you know how to set all that up.
Well, yeah, the title company does it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they would foreclose on you if you miss the payments.
Yeah, if you don't pay them, or I even tell them, I'm like, if I disappear to Florida and you can't find me, you foreclose on the property and I lost all the money I paid you. I lost it all. And they're like, okay. I'm like, you're basically graduating from being an investor to being the bank. And everyone wants to be the bank.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And when you show them you've got the 3 options, a lot of them take it. Like, we've bought 400 units with seller financing.
How much more, when you paint the picture of the 3 options, how much different in value do those look like when you have the cash that's discounted, the conventional financing, probably closer to market value,
Yep.
and then how much more would that seller financing option be?
So it's kind of like playing chess. You have to set yourself up for what your step's going to be if they do take that seller finance offer. So normally it's always going to be the highest and best, but we'll always cut the rate way down. But you also have to be careful. You have to make sure that your term is long enough for them.
That's what I was going to ask. What is usually the term that
So
you...
I always try for the longest I can. It depends on their age. If they're 88, probably not going to get a 20-year term.
30 years.
So what
Yeah.
happens if they pass away? What happens?
That's a great
Goes
question.
to their heirs?
So they do ask that, yeah. So it's dependent on how they have their will set up.
Trust or their
Yeah,
will,
like
yeah.
if they pass away and they're the lien holder, whoever's going to inherit, that note, essentially they're going to be in charge. But that's another good thing to bring up. Like, hey, you're not going to be around forever. Wouldn't you like your kids to get a trickle of income over the next 15 years instead of just giving it all to them at once and then getting hit with inheritance tax?
Yeah.
So you have to ask questions to figure out why they're selling, and then you have to figure out what's important to them. Then you can kind of play off that, and you can kind of pitch based on that. But with the valuation, if you're going to offer higher with seller finance, the terms obviously have to work for you. You just have to make sure that if you've got a long enough term that you're going to be safe, or if the term's only 5 years, you have to make damn sure that you can refinance it and make the property worth more, because they're going to want to hold that 20% in, the bank is, whenever they refinance. So
So know your numbers.
yeah, it's all
heard that
practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And it is. And you can
another
do it for
plug
free.
is they can hire you as a coach, right? Because I know James is a great example.
I love James. He's great. He's blowing up too. He's doing really, really well.
And we hired you as a coach, but we took a different approach. 'Cause
Yep.
we decided to partner with you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, because you don't do all owner financing, obviously.
No. We started that way because when you start, it takes millions of dollars to buy hundreds of units. It does. So when you start, you don't have that money. Even if you save for 20 years and you've got $1 million, that $1 million buys you $5 million worth of real estate. Now, how are you going to get the next million? You either have to raise the money, you've got to do seller financing. I mean, everyone's going to run out of money eventually. You either pivot to raising money and partnering, or you just wait and you're not going to grow very fast.
And you're going to miss out on appreciation by not
You
owning
are.
the property.
Yeah, and a lot of people get stuck in that. They get to that 20 unit mark or they buy 2 buildings. They can never get past that because they didn't.
They're out of cash.
You're out. And
Yeah.
again, it's really hard to save $1 million. Like once you spend it, a $5 million property sounds like a lot, but that could be 50, 60 units, and that's not going to like create generational wealth.
And people think you can go in and raise rents and then pull your money back out. It doesn't really work like that.
It takes time and you have to do it properly. Like again, it's all timing and management. If you do it the wrong way, you can kill your equity in a deal because you've made it vacant at that point.
Do you feel like owner finance deals are harder to come by now than they were when you first started?
No, I think and I don't want to, not to say like it's harder, it's actually easier now to do them. It's not easier to find them, it's easier to do them because rates are so high.
Yes.
Like back when I was doing it, rates were like, that's when they were like 4%.
Yeah.
Like it was a horrible time to do seller finance. I just got lucky, and it is luck. It's, hey, how many times have you sent messages out today and got a response?
It's not luck. It's because you were putting
consistency.
the work in.
Right,
Yes,
right. And I just consider it lucky because I'm like, if you make 100 calls, 10 might not answer, 2 are going to tell you not to call again, and it's just a numbers game. But it's easier to do seller finance now because the rates are high and people can't sell for what their property's worth. But they're still hard to find. You have to continuously be working them every week to find them. But if you can find them, people are doing them. They're doing them on huge $10, $20 million properties.
So let's dig into that a little bit because their rates. So what we didn't realize, at least I didn't realize it, is you don't really get into when you buy more than so many doors, there's no more fixed rate, right? It's only fixed for so many years.
They're all arms.
They'll give you a term like most commercial banks. They all want 20% down. A lot of the bigger banks now want 30 to 35% down, which again that makes the entrance for new people even harder. Because before, if you needed $200,000 to get into $1 million, now you need $300,000. That's hard. They'll lock you in for 2 to 5 years at the rate. And then whatever the rate is going to do at that time when it renews, like you better hope your property's doing well, because if it renews 4 or 5 points higher, it has to make money, or you have to. Well, that's what happened to us.
And that's what's happening right now, correct?
Your
A lot of
cash
people
flow
that
is gone.
bought,
You're
a lot of
negative.
people bought, 4 years ago at a 4%
Yep.
rate, and now they're 7.
Well, yeah, like last year when we did one, I think we were at 9. So we went from a 4 to a 9. And I can tell you, like, a lot of operators got wiped out. They had to sell. They got totally
So are they
wiped
selling at a
out.
loss?
Oh, they're selling. Yeah, of course. Because when you go, nobody anticipated the double interest rate. Like even guys that have been doing this their whole life, nobody, like when you run numbers, and everybody knows this, you should run at 1-2% higher to see where you might end up to make sure you're still in a good spot. Nobody was running at a double. Nobody was. So when that happened, people had to sell because it was negatively cash flowing. So they lost the property. I think the only reason
take them.
the bank either. Well, the bank they don't like to foreclose on people. Like the banks, a lot of them would just reamortize the debt out again.
Okay.
But if they were too far upside down, they would force a sale at a loss. So you lost your equity. You lost all of it.
So you put 400,000 in, you just lost 400,000.
But you got to walk away with a clean record. And I think like the only reason we survived that, because it hit everybody, is because we self-managed. That's the only reason we're totally fine. I wasn't bleeding out from management companies taking all of our money.
Let's dig into that because that is huge.
Yeah.
That is so huge. So, so you don't do any type of what's the word?
Management company?
No, she is her own
Sure.
management company.
Yes.
Syndication. You don't do syndication deals.
I don't syndicate. I only partner.
And-
Yeah.
And we.
So explain the difference.
Oh yes, please.
Yeah, so syndication essentially, it's where you're pulling money from. I mean, it's an unlimited amount of people. If you need $1 million for a down payment, you might need to pull $50,000 from X amount of people. You could have 20, 30 people in on one deal. I don't like that model. For one, all these guys, there's a lot of guys out there and in St. Louis, that you guys know.
That's all they do is they syndicate.
But here's the thing. When you syndicate, you better be self-managing it because these guys are taking everybody's money. They're passing it off to management. It's like throwing your money in the air and hoping it just flies back to you. They're risking everybody else's money, and then they're giving it to someone else to manage so that they can say, wow, that management company sucks. Sorry you lost your money. So syndicating is where you do pull money from a bunch of different people to be able to buy a deal. Partnerships, which is what I do, is I'll have one or two guys in. That's it. We all have a percentage of ownership, and we're all in it. And that's it's a lot cleaner, and we can grow a lot faster when you have a small team of investors as opposed to 30 people you don't even know, and you all are just putting your money in a deal that you don't understand.
Yeah. And really for anybody who does partner with you, because we did on a big bill, $10 million plus building.
Oh, and that's a huge jump for, like I said, that was your guys' first huge deal.
We went all in because we trust you, right?
No, and I'm happy.
And so it's working out and it's great. But you you nailed it. Is you're managing yourself, and and we have complete access. I see I get text messages and emails all day long. Like, this tenant's signing the lease, renewing the lease. So everything is that you have set up is your systems, and let's talk about your systems because they are amazing. Like if you want to become I know you're already millionaire, but over and over again, you can sell your systems and.
Oh, 100%.
Completely be out of the property, you can be out of the property owning and be just in the management alone for your system.
Yeah, and
you only manage your properties right now.
I do, and honestly, I have so many people that ask me to manage their properties, and I've even thought about it. I've tossed the idea. I've ran numbers on it, and I don't know if I'll ever be interested in doing that because it is so intense, the work you have to put in to make yourself stay profitable. You have to have your eye on 50 balls at once or else one's going to fly down the hill. It's the profit's not really worth managing other people's property. You could just create NOI within your own portfolio if you would just focus on your own. But management companies is where your property will go to die. They get their fee no matter how you perform, and they get the 10%, 10%, whatever they're charging now. They just hire everything out, and they don't care what it costs. They don't shop. They don't do anything. They get their 10%. Yeah. If you're going into foreclosure, they still get 10%.
Yeah, they have zero skin in the game, and people are always amazed at how bad the property management companies are, but there's no incentive for them.
Well, and it's for people, and again, if you're going to, for syndicators and guys that own businesses that don't want to manage real estate, I get why they think it's a good idea. I totally get that. But you have to find such an amazing deal to have the room to let them go screw everything up because that is what they do.
They will.
I've never met one that makes your property profitable.
And they make money on everything. The plumber that's going in there, they're making money. The HVAC guy, they're making money. To
release to an existing tenant, they get a whole month's worth of rent. It's insane. Right. But we would die if we had a management company. I wouldn't even be in the business.
The goals don't align because when the tenant trashes your property and vacates, the management company is bad.
They're ecstatic. They make money on it. They walk into a trash unit and they're like, hell yeah.
They get to charge you for the turnover now, and they're going to make money. Versus you would have preferred the tenant just stay there for the next 5 years and keep paying rent.
And we've taken over properties when we've bought that, and the people had a management company, and when I got in there, I'm like, they were managing this. There's been vacant sitting here for almost a year. We had a property down on Bates. I took it over from a management company. It was 12 units. The units were vacant for so long, and here's the funniest thing: the units were done. They just didn't lease them out. That we had to do all these crazy inspections with the city because the electric was off for a year. And I was like, how is it? I don't get it. I'm totally against management companies, and they can't even give a good argument to rebuttal that.
How could they?
But because I know I'm an operator, I do operate hundreds of units. So when people are like, well, you don't know what you're talking about, or I have banks even that'll say, well, you can't scale. I'm like, we're scaling faster than people that are using management companies because I actually have a profit.
Yeah.
And you have a system, and you use AppFolio.
We use AppFolio. You do have to have 100+ units to use AppFolio, but there's a million different management softwares out there. You can take your pick. They all kind of do the same thing. But really the trick is just automating everything so that your back end is covered and you can stay profitable. So
I wish we could pull it up on the screen so you could see what happens
Yeah.
on the back end. It's unbelievable. Like,
it is.
She knows if, because you have accounts set up at Home Depot and Lowe's.
Yep.
Like, if the contractor puts a soda on that, she knows.
Yeah.
Like, if she knows everything that's going in, going out. Like, it is dialed in.
And the request for
it's
repair goes right to them.
It's amazing.
You're
It
not in the
does.
middle, right?
Well, so it comes to us first, but we do that because then we have a VA that assigns it out because certain things that they put a request in might not be covered. Like if they caused cockroaches in their unit, I'm not going to go pay $75 when I rented it to you in perfect condition. So you do have to kind of filter them out, but we have a VA that does all of that. We try to stay around 100 in the queue at all times, and that's really good for that many units. But
So 100 requests.
100 requests.
There's always 100 in there.
So make
Always.
that just tells you.
make
think
sure,
about
like,
that.
if you're
Yeah.
listening,
Managing that,
100 requests in queue. So it's
Yeah, and we get-
700 doors, 100 requests.
Yeah, and we get 10 to 15 new requests a day, so we hover around the 100, but we're completing hundreds a month, hundreds.
Wow.
So, but we just stick as long as we're within 100 to 125. I know we're caught up.
What's some of the most like ridiculous requests that
Oh,
you've
well,
had where you're like,
Actually, Timber
Come on.
Ridge,
Oh,
we
boy.
had one, and it's like one
we
of our
know
best
about this?
properties. But well, it's a funny one. But a lady put in a request for our maintenance guy to bring up her IKEA furniture that she had delivered to the bottom of the stairs and then put it together for her.
Get out of
And
here.
I was
That's not
like,
included?
I'm like, we're not movers and we don't put furniture together. But I did add that as an add-on. You can rent our maintenance men for $200 for 2 hours.
Smart.
So if you want to utilize them, she did not. She thought that she's like, well, I can't lift it. And I was like,
Well,
they will.
Yeah.
But this IKEA thing is going to take 10 hours.
yeah,
to put together, so that's
100%.
gonna
But
cost
yeah,
more than
she
what the
put in
thing
a
costs.
maintenance request
That
again.
is too funny.
But that's why you filter them out because you do get ridiculous requests, or we'll have ones that's like, my boyfriend and I broke up. Come change my door code, and I'm like, you mean the illegal occupant you didn't mention? Now you have to pay for us to come out and change your lock, and you broke your lease. So you do get crazy ones a lot, but yeah, we get 10 to 15 new ones a day. And if you don't have your systems in place, you'll lose residents over maintenance. If you're not fixing their stuff, they feel like you don't care and they will leave. And now you've got vacancy.
And
so
everything is done through the app. Correct?
Everything's done
so how
online.
do the older people adapt to that?
So the older people, like whenever we onboard a property, it's kind of like you guys with onboarding. You do have to have someone that helps them through that. So, we'll jump on a call with them. We'll have either one of their kids help them out, and we have to teach them how to use it.
Yeah.
And we're fine doing that. And a lot of the older people, once they get it, they kind of get this new confidence, like, oh, I actually figured that out. It really wasn't bad. And when we do have older people that call in, they're scared about doing it online because they do everything with a checkbook.
Of course. Just like my wife.
Yeah, and some people do that. But I'm like, look, I've got 90-year-olds on this thing. And then they get all excited. And then they're like, if they can do it, I can do it. I'm only 80, So honestly, it hasn't even been a problem. So
That's amazing. How long did it take you to be able to be somewhat relaxed when okay, there's only 100 maintenance requests in there right now,
Yep.
without you just laying in bed at night going, oh my God, I can't believe this is
Are
happening.
you looking at those every day?
I do. I was last night at 11 p.m. My wife was like, "Can you turn your brightness down?" I was like, "Is this good?" Because I was going through the maintenance. But I like to be involved like that. I love working and I love looking at everything. And if I can get rid of stuff that I know we don't need to do and saves me a couple grand, I do it every day. But I like it. So back, before we had the management software, I was doing everything through a cell phone. So I would get a text saying, hey, there's a leak. I would have to call the plumber. Then I'd have to tell the tenant, hey, there's a leak. I hated my life. I was like, I just bought myself the worst job in the world. This is so horrible. I don't know why anybody does it. It sucks. It's not even worth the money. I'd rather go sell insurance again.
This is not passive.
No, not at all. And then I would forget to respond to somebody, and then stuff wasn't getting done because my phone had hundreds of text messages on it. And I could not figure out a way to keep it organized. But once we got Appfolio, I was like, oh, it's organized. Everything comes through. It gets assigned out. I can see it. like everything gets completed properly, that's when we knew we could scale because I wasn't like staring at it 80 hours a week.
So technology.
Technology.
Is AI
Yeah.
helping you at all right now?
It is. So I think it's the best time to be in the real estate space because of AI, like especially with leasing. Now, if somebody responds like to one of our apartments, hey, I want to rent this unit, AI's like, hey, here's the photos, here's the price. Do you want to set this up? Here's the application. It auto responds to everybody. Whereas before, you had to have a girl in the office answering the phone all day. Yes, I have an apartment. She says that 100 times a day, and she hates her life. AI does that now.
Wow.
AI does the maintenance stuff too. Like,
And you had to set all that up. So you set up all the back systems?
yeah, with Appfolio, like, and you have to pay for all of that stuff. It's not free, but AI, it just takes the human aspect out of having to have so much staff so you can be more profitable, which is really important.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, so talking about profitability, everybody's costs are going up. The interest rates, the insurance, the taxes, everything's going up. So a big problem that a lot of investors have is they don't keep their rents up to market.
Yep.
Now, somebody at your scale, I assume you've got a system for how to do that. How do we not spook the tenants and get them to leave and cause high turnover?
Yep.
Talk more about that process.
And that's literally like the magic touch you have to have is you don't always have to be at the highest rent to make money. And I learned this in storage. I used to think you had to be like 100% occupied all the time, but then I learned like if you are 100% occupied, most oftentimes you're under rented and you're actually making less money. You have to kind of look at your portfolio, and when you've got it in front of you, if you're just a little bit below market rent, you're going to get way more applicants and you're going to get to pick from way better quality tenants that stay for 3 to 4 years, as opposed to the person that's the highest bidder on the unit. They might only stay for a year. Now you've got that turnover for that. And when you do the math on that stuff, you kind of start looking, like you said, your daughter looks at like the demographics on Facebook. You can look and be like, hey, when I'm $20 below market rent, my people are staying longer than when I rent it at market. So you're having less turnover, you're having less retention issues, less maintenance problems. So it depends on the property. I can tell you in the spring and the summer, we're at market. Like right now in the fall, we're a little bit below market, but that's because we want to stay full because vacancy kills your profit. There's no point in holding a vacant over to get market rent if you could lower the rent and still get the unit rented out. Like it's all about staying full.
Yeah.
So it is kind of a dance. Like, we don't do huge rent increases on our residents. We'll do it slowly over time. Like this year, I can tell you, we didn't do any rent increases. We started charging back utilities. And in the last 12 months, we've created my wife will get mad at me saying it, but we've made like over $30,000 a month just charging back utilities, and it's only taken us like 10 months.
So explain that. So when you say charge back utilities, how is that? What's the process look like?
Yep. So in the state of Missouri, you are not allowed to profit on utilities. So whatever your water, sewer, trash is on the property, if you've got 50 units, you have to split that bill evenly between the 50 units. And at renewal, you can charge that resident back. It's called RUBS. It's utility reimbursement. So you can say, hey, I'm not going to raise your rent, but $45 a month is going to be added. That's water, sewer, trash. Because before, the last 5 years, I've been paying all utilities. Yeah. I used to be so scared to add any charges, any rent bumps, anything. And my wife's like, do it. I just was like, I didn't want the vacancy because we do a lot of leasing. I was like, everybody else is doing it, and they're still full. So we did it, and it's working out really well. So I've had to not buy as many units because we've increased the NOI on our current units. I'd rather have less units, like I said, and be more profitable than to keep buying for no reason.
And then you've you've done some really cool things just on the building that we own together. Like
Yep.
we have like a concierge service that will bring their trash.
Valet
cans.
trash, yeah.
Brilliant. Like such smart things. I'm like, wow,
And
that's
people
great.
don't even note it, and the management companies aren't doing that. And if
No.
they are, they're making a profit on it. They're
course.
offering it to your residents. They're profiting on it, and you're not even getting a piece of any of that as the owner.
Right.
So that's why I just hate management companies so much. I will down them all day long.
And that's why we love having you. as a
Yeah,
partner.
I mean,
Yeah.
they suck so bad.
So
About AC units, how many of those do you replace? I know.
Oh my
in the
God.
summer,
This
it's
year's
such a
been-
big- it's probably the biggest expense.
It sucks. And the
multifamily,
reason
right?
it sucks so bad right now, like they just changed the Freon.
Funny how that keeps happening.
you're
Yeah.
right.
I feel like we were
right,
talking
yeah.
about this 4
Yeah.
or 5 years
No,
ago.
and I shouldn't even know
now
about
it's-
Freon.
Yeah.
I know nothing about ACs. I know what they cost. I know every little dollar of what they cost to put together, but I should know what goes in them and all of that. But you have to, because they changed the Freon again because it was flammable or something like that. And now you can't just refill an AC unit. You have to replace the whole thing because the Freon's not compatible anymore.
And that's something.
So every time we replace an AC, it's between $5,000 and $8,000. And
just for the AC.
it's
Or
for
the full
it's for
system?
both.
Okay.
That's the full system.
Yeah.
But again, now you can't just change out one piece because the other piece is not compatible anymore. You can't leave the furnace because
Right.
you have to do the whole thing now.
And
So
it's not like you can increase rent because nobody's walking in and saying, "Look at this new HVAC."
they don't give a
system." No,
yeah
it's
no.
It has to work.
not like granite or quartz countertops and new floors. It's no.
Yeah.
They,
Value add.
They don't even see it.
Yeah,
Same
they-
with the water heater.
Yeah.
They're like hot water's coming out. No,
great.
you know,
They
it no.
kind of expect to have hot water.
Yeah,
and air
they do. I get
conditioning.
that.
So you can't really add on more rent to
Yeah.
the unit because you put a new HVAC system in
And
there.
the HVAC, that's to me, that's like the worst thing. And this summer was brutal. We had so many that we had to replace, but there's no way around it. Would you want me to be like, no AC for you? I'm not going to get rent. Now I'm going to lose that tenant, and it's the vacancy again. You have to make people want to stay or they'll leave. But yeah, the ACs are brutal. I think we've spent the most money this year that we ever have, but it's because the change of Freon. So it really screwed our budget up this year. You know, I can do everything I can do to, hey, make sure we're doing filters, make sure we're cleaning out the, all the little things you can do for preventative maintenance. But when they go out, there's nothing you can do. You got to replace it. Like, it sucks, but you don't have a choice.
Yeah.
So we did bleed out a little bit on ACs this year. And I think the only thing you can do to help is the preventative maintenance, like filters, making sure tenants aren't doing anything wild. If they have a lot of pets, we offer them filter service. Like, hey, let us come change it out once a month with your 8 cats. Like,
with a fee.
with fee. Yeah.
So if you could go back in time, would you change anything that you did?
Yes, I actually had James actually ask me this. A couple things I would change if I could go back. For one, I wouldn't have bought all over the state. I bought in St. Genevieve, Park Hills, Festus, St. Charles. I have stuff all over the place.
Just wherever you can find a deal.
Because it was seller finance. Like, I got a lot of properties for free, 40, 50 units that it didn't cost me any money out of my pocket. And that's great. But now I look at everything totally different because, again, it's not about unit count. That doesn't matter.
But did you feel like at that time it was?
I did think it mattered at that time. I was like, I wouldn't, I got to 500. I'm like, let's do 1,000. Let's do 2,000. What's the limit? That doesn't exist. But so we would just take whatever we could get. If it was 3 hours away, I would buy it if I could do it for seller finance. What I didn't know at that time was the management, that you have to have a team here, a team here, a team here. Like, it's so hard to have teams all over God's green earth. You have to have a cleaner, a maintenance guy, HVAC guy, plumber, leasing agent. You got to deal with the city, the police. Like, you have to deal with all these different people in every municipality. If I could go back, I wouldn't have done that. I would have focused on one area, which is what we do now. Like, if it's not in my area now, I don't touch it. Like, we want to be in one area. For one, you want to take over the rents in that area. You want to be the majority monopoly owner so that you control the rents. Two, you want to be able to run your team efficiently. Like, when you've got guys driving all over the place, good luck keeping staff.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to drive their cars 3 hours between 3 locations a day.
And traffic, weather, all that.
And then you're paying them to be on the road instead of in
Yeah.
the units. So if I could go back, I would not buy all over the place. I would pick one area and I would stick in that area. And the other mistake I made, I would say probably not tracking expenses closely enough when I was new. Like before, I would just be like, well, it needs to be fixed. Do it. Like, take care of it. I don't care. Whatever. Just get it. Take care of it. Once you really look at all your expenses, you're like, we really didn't need to do that. We could have done this, this, and this and probably saved $3,000 on a new panel or something like that. So now we really look at every little dollar. And it saves you a lot of money.
Cost now, right?
I know what everything costs.
You know the true cost of it. That's huge. Yeah,
and you learn that.
Call to get an HVAC, and you can get a quote from $25,000 to $8,000.
You can. Yeah. And another thing you have to know, like, when you're an investor and you do have a lot of doors, you have to know your pull, like your worth with vendors. Like, there's vendors, they want to charge you market price. It's like, no, dude, I can give you 20 jobs a month. Why? I'm not going to give you 20 of my jobs a month if you're going to charge me market. I'm going to go give it to somebody that's going to give me a discount because they're getting 20 jobs a month.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell that to cleaners, and they're like, well, I charge $40 an hour. And I'm like, right, but that's if you're cleaning on your own. You're marketing, you're doing the business, you're doing this. If you're cleaning for me, you're going to get paid $18 an hour, but you're guaranteed 40 hours a week. Like, because I give you the volume. Like, and you do have to pull that when you're dealing with vendors, because if they see you guys as a management company. They don't see you as a private investor that self-manages. They still see you as a management company. They try to charge you management company prices. Yeah. Same with me. They're like, oh, you're an apartment complex? Let's jack that up. And I'm like, no, actually, here's how we do things. And it's a take it or leave it deal. But they make a lot of money with us. We pay our vendors.
It's a good account.
Yeah. It's a huge account. Like, we pay them so much money, hundreds of thousands a year in maintenance, HVAC, plumbing. And if anyone out there wants the job, like, if you give us a bulk discount, we will take it. But you have to give us something in return for the volume.
It's gotta be fair.
It has to. Yeah. I mean.
So, I have two more questions. Yeah. First one is, and I'm sure you hear this all the time, you have a brand new investor that's wanting to get started. I'm sure you hear this many times a week. Lindsay, how do I get started?
Sure. I would say, well, the first thing you need to do is make a decision that you are going to have to work at this. Like, this is not going to be I want to do real estate. Let me go on Google and start asking questions and reading books. That stuff helps. Nothing trumps action. Like, I know I read every single book, and I hate reading. When I was first starting out, I would listen to Grant Cardone on the TV, but I still didn't really know what to do. The second I started sending people messages asking to buy their property, even though I had no money, I didn't even know how to finance it. I knew nothing. I started learning how to communicate with potential sellers. I started going to the property and getting to see property. And once you start really taking action and learning, like, how to interact with people, you're going to be so much further ahead than the people reading the books that are just like, oh, well, I know what to do, but they've never actually done it.
Of course.
I've made so many mistakes
that's how
in
you
my
learn,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And they'll say bad things about people that, fail and make mistakes, but I tell my wife all the time, I'm like, I want to make the biggest mistakes you've ever seen. I want to lose a few million.
Fail forward. Yeah.
Because it's going to make me
right.
10 times that. Like, failure is not failure if you keep taking the action.
Well, school's expensive.
It is, and I learned that in North County.
Yeah.
It was like the Harvard of property management. I can manage anything now, anything. So
would you say, hey, go buy a 4-family? Like, would you say, or jump right into
I tell people,
8-family?
I tell people to go bigger, and you want to have a property that has its own ecosystem. If you buy a 4-family, you are the manager. You are the maintenance. You are the painter. You are not creating enough cash flow to pay those people. When you buy a 30 unit, you can have a maintenance guy. You can hire someone to paint the unit. You can have the plumber go by.
So I think that's huge advice. So minimum 30 doors is what you would
recommend? And even now, we won't touch it if it's under 50 doors. Okay. Like, if it's under 50 doors, we don't touch it, and that's because it doesn't support itself. Like, if you are starting lower than 50 doors, you're buying yourself a job because you can't afford to hire vendors.
And learn how to manage it yourself.
Yeah, and vendors are really important, and they are part of your success, and you have to be able to pay them to do it.
Hopefully you have relationships, because you're not going to pick up the phone book and call, Reinhold Electric to get, you're going to be paying a
Yep.
premium. So you better have a Rolodex of contacts for
Yeah,
those.
and relationships have saved us in many instances. If we have a blown up pipe that has to be dug up and you're on a timeline with the city and different things happen, like your relationships will get you further than just paying somebody.
So what if they don't have those relationships? Would you recommend paying somebody that does have those relationships?
I mean, I'm always in favor of a coach. Like I've paid so many
That's where I was
coaches
getting.
because it literally it just cuts out all of the mistakes. You are going to lose money. 100% you're going to lose money. But if you can pay someone to maybe save a little bit of that money and still get what you need, I would do it.
Yep.
And I pay for self-education. That's like I literally have a budget for it yearly. So
Can you share what that budget is?
20,000.
That's awesome.
So we stay within that 20,000, and that's better than me going on vacation or doing whatever else because it always creates income.
I love
So-
that.
That's awesome.
Yep.
I got a question for you. So I'm just starting out and I want to buy this small multifamily. You said 30 to 50 units I should target.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going after it. I find the property. What is my staffing? What does my vendors look like? Do I have part-time maintenance, full-time maintenance? Do I have a leasing agent?
Yep.
Who do I need around me to pull this deal off?
That's a really, really good question because that's another thing that a lot of people struggle with. I know a lot of operators, they're either overstaffed or understaffed and they're just blowing their budget. For us, for every 100 doors, we do have one full-time maintenance guy. So if you're under 100 doors, you can have a part-timer that, you can literally say, hey, does anybody want a part-time gig whenever these work orders come through, as long as it's not urgent, like a leak or a fire or something like that, you get to it within a week and you're totally fine. And then you can just pay them for the hours that they worked that week. And that's what we did in the beginning, but once you start getting into 1, 2, 3, 4, you have to have one full-time person for every 100 units to stay on track with the work orders because they're coming in no matter what happens. I can tell you the slowest time is Thanksgiving. Everyone just doesn't put work orders in, but then New Year's come around, everybody's having parties. Our freaking work orders skyrocket because they all clog the sink and the toilets and we have seasons. But that is a hard thing to learn because staffing is really hard and you have to pay people well and get them to stick around. So knowing what you need for how many units is important. But yeah, I would say anything under 100 units, part-time, as needed. Over 100 units, one per.
So do you pay him a salary? Or are you paying like per hour, per job? Or what's the best way to pay these?
We do kind of both. It depends on what they're doing. I tried hiring my own HVAC guy. That really didn't work. They kept just stealing the materials and the tools. And so it actually was cheaper for us to hire a vendor because they were actually doing the work. With our actual maintenance guy, I start them off hourly and then we move them up. My best maintenance guy right now, he was working for a fencing company. He was making $12 an hour. And we've just promoted. He's making a lot more than that with me now, but he literally manages everything. You guys met him, John. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He is amazing. But they don't even have to have experience. They have to be coachable and they have to want to work. And if you're paying them well, they'll stay. There's a lot of flimsy maintenance guys out there. If you just pay them correctly and they're doing the work, make them want to stay. It's really not hard.
So
what does competitive pay look like for maintenance?
Yeah, that's one.
I mean, if you go on Indeed, all these management companies, they're going to start you between $18 and $22 an hour. We're paying between $25 and $35 an hour to start, but we do it on a rolling scale. I'll start you at $22, $23 an hour. We want to see what you can do first.
That's what I was just going to ask. How do you know they know? Because everybody says they can do maintenance and then they show up and they don't know how to
it happens
hammer a nail.
Well, and we always have Indeeds going because you do go like this. You have to have a hiring process when you're our size. You can't go without maintenance. Right. But yeah, it's trial and error. We just hired a guy 2 months ago. He actually moved up here from Kansas City or something. So I took it super seriously for him because he was moving. Stupid me. Another mistake. I gave him an apartment because I was cool, we're gonna add you onboard you. You need a place to live because you're gonna come work for me. It makes sense, right? No. So we hired this guy. He said he could do everything. GFCIs, and I asked him, I'm water heaters, can you change an outlet? Can you do a ceiling fan? all the things that have to do with the turnover is what they need to know how to do. And it's very basic stuff. We moved this guy up from Kansas City. He starts working with John, our maintenance supervisor. He almost burns one of our apartments down because he could not even wire a GFCI. You have to have GFCIs in the bathrooms and the kitchens of every single unit or you'll fail the inspection. He literally almost burnt a unit down. So John was like, okay, don't touch electric, not a big deal. Let's see what you're good at. Sent him to go paint a unit. He couldn't patch a drywall hole that was this big. So he was over there for 8 hours, so I paid 8 hours for someone to patch a tiny little hole. I could have had the whole unit painted. Wow. And so long story short, I had to fire him. We fired him after 2 weeks. We did try to work with him. I'm always like, okay, you suck at that. What are you good at? Let's see if we can utilize you. Maybe you can cut grass. I don't know.
Something, right.
Let's figure this out for you. It just didn't work. It's trial and error. Yeah, I'm willing to hire anybody as long as you're not a piece of crap and you have a work ethic. I'll try you out. And if you do well, unlimited work. I always tell people, you could stay here forever. I've had people that are like, hey, I want to retire here. I'm like, great. As long as you can keep doing it and we're both happy, it's a great idea, but you've got to try people out. A lot of them lie. They don't know how to change out a GFCI. They don't know how to paint. You'll go in the unit and there's paint all over the floor, but they're an expert painter. And they want $35 an hour.
Right,
Wow.
right.
Everybody lies
It's
on
almost
their
like you want to
resume,
bring them
right?
back here. Show me, change this outlet.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
doubt.
no, and we usually just onboard them, and then John's like, okay, you said you could paint, right? Go paint the 2-bedroom. And then they're in there for a month, and you're like, what the hell are you doing? Like, what are you doing in there? So it's just trial and error. There's not a secret to hiring. I can tell you in Florida, though, not that it'll help here, but when I lived in Florida, if you go to Home Depot, there's workers lined out the door. You can just come pick people up to get workers for the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm there for that.
Yeah, they're there for that. You get there early in the morning, you can pick workers up and I wish that was the case here. I would totally make my maintenance
Right.
guys go pick
For
people
sure.
up. But here, you just have to hire and pray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not following Lindsay on social media, I advise that you do. Some of your posts are
Horrendous.
They're funny. They're
great.
entertaining. They are very interesting. Some of the units that she'll show, like a
Yeah.
turnover, or some of the text message threads from some of the tenants, and
Yeah.
you don't back down. Like you're a badass. Like you go right
Well,
back at. You have to, I think. And
and you learn. I used to be I was so shy and nice and like introverted and like always I would always just let people have the upper hand. Once I got into property management, I was like, you will die if you do that. They will.
I would never guess that you were easy on them.
No, back in the day I was. But again, I didn't do property management back then. I was a salesperson. But once you get into property management, you die and you become somebody else. You are a new person when you get into property management. And all the young people, I would encourage them, go work. All the people that have all these ideas and they want all these different things for the world, go work in property management. You won't think that anymore. You'll see how people really are. It will change you. It's like serving. Like when you think everybody's just nice.
For sure.
If you go serve and you're
everyone
dealing,
should do that.
yeah, you're gonna learn very, very quick. So
What's the most bizarre thing you open a unit?
Oh my
I know you had
God.
one that you bought a building and you didn't know there had been a fire in one of the units you
Yeah.
didn't know about, but there's stuff that's been worse
we've
than that.
walked in on everything. We've walked in on butt naked squatters, like laying on the floor of units we just got done. I've had people fighting pit bulls where I had one guy, I moved him in. This was before I knew how to screen back in the day. It was in Breckenridge. We walked in the unit. He just had a massive pile of dog food on the floor. And the neighbors were complaining about cockroaches. Cockroaches love dog food, by the way.
I didn't know that.
We just moved him in. He was breeding and fighting pit bulls in his
an
unit.
apartment?
Yeah, and to feed them, he was just dumping the dog food in the middle of the apartment, so it caused a massive cockroach issue. That's the only reason that I knew there was a problem. We were getting complaints.
Wow.
So obviously he got kicked out. I've had the FBI call me because we had a tenant in, again, North County, that he was kidnapping women. He had a woman kidnapped in his apartment, and they called me to see if they could get the key. I was like, kick the door down. Like, fuck the key. Just go. Like, get her out of there. So we've really dealt with Everything.
Did they do that?
Yeah, they kicked the whole door down. They got the girl out. Apparently, he was kidnapping all these different women. And again, that's another scary thing when you're a woman. That's why I carry, like, you're in all these buildings. Like, you don't know these people. You don't know who they're moving in. You don't know that their brother or their dad that just got out of prison is now in the unit and they're doing crazy stuff. Like, you just deal with everything. You deal with people living and it's...
And dying. I know we had somebody die
yeah.
Timber
And that
Ridge.
we had a lady die, and a lot of the times if they're older and they don't have family checking in on them every day, they might be in there for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And by the time you get there, it's really disgusting, but they've already like melted through the floor. And it's really gross because then it's a whole different story than if they just die and then you get them out right away. When they've been like decomposing for 3 weeks, it's really a different
level.
story. Yeah.
You're relentless. And one thing about you is you're relentless. And I know when we were buying the building with you, how many banks? Because we were getting that building, and somehow, some way, you were able to we got 15% down, correct?
We did, and that is
unheard of.
Even the guy I bought from. Like I remember he would call me at night, and this is a huge developer. Like he's way, way, way above me, and he was like, "You're not going to get this done for less than 30%. I don't even know why we're wasting our time." Blah blah blah. And even
Pissed Carly off.
Yeah, it did. My wife was like, fuck that guy. Like, he doesn't know.
I love Carly. We
She's
need to have her on, too.
Yeah,
she's
you might
spitfire.
have, I don't know. You're going to have to edit
So
a lot
will you-
cuss words out.
Will you come back?
Yeah,
Will you
with
come back?
Carly. Carly's
and bring
Oh,
Carly?
yeah, I will.
And
But
the
yeah.
great thing is,
Yeah.
like, Carly and my wife love each other, and
They
they're
do.
like the most opposite people in the
Oh my
entire
God.
world. Like, but
Yeah.
but they're also so much alike.
Well, and your wife, like when me and Carly both said this, when we first met her for dinner, we could tell she was so like reserved and shy. And we were like, okay, is she even going to like us? Now there's like, they're just like little
They
girls
text each
talking.
other like,
Yeah.
it's funny.
They get along really well,
we
but
had-
they are opposites. But
Totally, but
I mean,
a lot of alike. It's like when we're at dinner, it's Lindsay and I and her and Carly.
yeah, exactly. It's perfect. Though.
It works out
yeah,
great.
It
yes.
does.
So you're
So finish
relentless.
that.
So
you got pissed, or Carly got mad.
Yeah,
that he was-
Carly got so mad because again, 100%. It is hard to get 15% down, but it comes back to the relationships. The banks have to know who you are, that you are going to operate correctly, and that makes sense for them. And it doesn't just go through the loan officer. It goes through loan committee, board, the president. You have to have 10 people that believe in you and know you to get that. And that's another good reason to partner. A lot of people don't have those relationships. So long story short, on that deal specifically, since it was a $10 million deal, again, that's also outside of a lot of banks' appetites. Banks do have appetites. Some of them only want to do a $2 or $3 million deal. Some have limits. They can only go up to 5 or 6, and then they have to like participate the rest out. So for that deal,
which means
it's basically
bring in other banks, right?
Yep.
To reduce the risk.
like if their bank, if this bank can only go up to $6 million, you've got a $10 million deal. They have to go find another bank to give them the other $4 million that wants to go in with them. So it gets harder. So the deal we did, we went through 10 banks.
10.
10. And I don't know, for anyone that's ever applied for a loan, it's not like a house loan where you think your life's ending.
No.
When you apply for commercial, you're giving them everything. Every piece of finance is like, and to go through 10, but that's the thing.
What do you own?
Everything. It takes
And we got
hours.
not the full ride, but we went on that ride with you. You're like,
Yep.
hey guys, there's
Yep.
another bank.
This,
We're like,
picture, right?
I told you, I said, I know you love your credit score,
I
but
did, I go,
but that's totally
my
normal.
800 credit score.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be good. And
Yep.
it has. It,
Well, most people would quit by the third or fourth.
That's what I was going to
Yes,
say.
yes.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Relentless. This
Exactly.
girl
But-
is
Like, oh,
relentless.
never mind. It's not going to
Well,
happen.
and,
Did you ever feel that way? Were you
Well,
ever like?
I always feel it. I feel it every time I do a deal because no matter what, even if you do have a good reputation, like if you give a deal to 3 banks, 2 of them are going to say no. They've either hit their limit for the year, it's not in the area they want. Like banks have goals just like you and me. Sometimes they want to get out of an area.
it might not be you.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It has nothing to do with me, but you are going to get a lot of no's, but you're also going to get a lot of yeses that you can shop against each other. But for this deal, it was such a big dollar amount. Usually that stuff goes to agency debt, which is like, it's a different kind of financing. But for us to get 15% down on 10 million, it came down to the relationship. and we got it done, and the developer couldn't believe it. He's like, holy crap, like, who's the bank? I'm like, here you go.
He asked me the same thing again. Like,
Yeah, here's the bank.
yeah.
Because they
How
want to
did you
use
do that?
it.
He said, I go, it's all Lindsay. You got to
Yeah,
talk
he was shocked.
Well, and it wasn't easy. I don't
Right,
ever want to be
yeah.
like, oh,
No,
I'm
well-
so good at this.
Well, hell
but
no. Let's, again, how many banks?
10.
Yeah, that's
10 banks. And
unbelievable.
100%, like, we could have stopped at 4 or 5, and I could have been like, hey guys, sorry, we did push it through 5 banks, but when you commit to this, you will find a way to do it. And that's the biggest thing. Everybody gives up, and then they have kids and they do this and that. They never get into the real estate, and then they end up working 9 to 5 for 40 years, and then they hate it. You know, you just have to find a way to get in, and once you get in, make it work. Make it to where you don't have an option to not do it. And that's kind of how I operate on it. Like, we would have contacted 5 more.
I love it.
You
And
would
it
have been
worked.
mad about your credit.
Well, we trust
Credit
you.
dropped 200 points, but the good news is we got approved.
Yep.
The rate went up because your guys' credit score went from 800 to 600, but we
Oh, and my credit, like, it's never over 700, but that's because every year I have so many buildings now. The banks have to run my credit every year. So I get freaking 15, 20 hard inquiries every year.
Make sure things aren't going
Yeah,
south.
they do, and they do that. So it doesn't matter what I do. All my stuff's paid, but they still hit my credit every year. So I'll never be over 700, but I still get my loans because they can see everything makes money.
Why. They
Yeah.
know, and they know that that's
you got a good
hurting your credit
portfolio.
score.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
But yeah, the score, again, it's just one of those things, like, it only matters for certain things.
So are you currently taking on partners? Are you looking for partners?
We do, but we're very picky.
Selective.
Very picky. Like, for one, we have to get along. I do care about personality. Like, if we're not getting along, or I don't like your personality, we're not going to be good business partners, because we are very open. We do want to talk about things, like, and we want people that want to grow. We don't want one-off. You know, there's a lot of guys out there with money. There's a ton. There's lots of guys that have $1 million that they could just throw in, but you don't want somebody that doesn't believe in you and they're going to babysit you, because now you're a slave.
Right.
You don't want to partner with people that are like, well, why did you hire this HVAC guy instead of this guy? They have to know your intentions and they have to trust you.
You don't want to become an employee.
No,
of that
and you
person.
will, and that's another thing. I know a lot of people partnering right now, and they're partnering with people that just have the money, and the people with the money think they have the control. They don't realize the people with the operations is what's making them the return.
Right.
There has to be an equal exchange when you partner, and you absolutely need to get along with that person. And that's why I don't do syndications. I don't want 20 strangers that I don't know trying to coach me on something they don't understand.
Yeah.
They don't know how to manage. They're not doing it. They just had the money, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're very selective. We don't just raise money randomly. I'll usually go to people that I know that I would want to work with, and then we'll say, hey, here's the deal. Do you want in on this? If not, you go to the next guy. But again, be very selective with partnerships. That's what I would say.
Great advice.
So I'm going to end it on this. What was your most favorite real estate experience? We heard about some of the worst
Yeah.
ones. Is there one deal that stuck out that you're like,
Probably Timber Ridge.
The financing on Timber Ridge, I was really excited about, because everyone kept telling us no 15%. Like, I guarantee you, no one else is going to get that deal. Like, when we did get that, I was like, holy crap, like, it actually worked.
yeah.
Like, persistence did pay off. And being able to just close that one, because that was our largest deal. The previous one was $8 million. So, $10 million was the biggest one. But when you start stacking $8 to $10 million properties, 8 to 10 times,
Right.
it starts adding up really quick. But I would say probably my first seller finance deal, the 24 unit, that was my first $1 million deal. So for me, I was excited. I grew up in a trailer park. We never had any money. Like, my parents, even to this day, like, they live in apartments, unemployed. They don't have any money still. But when you do your first $1 million property, you're like, oh, okay. And then you realize $1 million is not a lot of money.
just
once you do
another
that.
zero, right?
Yeah, you're just like, okay, 1 million, that doesn't, and again, 1 million can't retire you, in my opinion. People are going to get mad about that and be
No,
like,
it
well,
cannot. No.
it can't. Like, I'd freak out if I only had $1 million.
Right.
But, yeah, you've
love
got to
that.
be able to scale.
Awesome.
So,
And one last nugget, when we were closing on that $10 million deal, I remember
Yep.
we were here in the building and we're all laughing because a big storm was rolling in, and Carly's like, we saw storm chasers with their trailers.
The tornadoes.
The tornado
yeah.
came and hit the building.
It was March 14th, so everybody knows that date.
Before I don't even think the insurance check cleared.
No.
A tornado came through and hit the building.
Yeah. And then we had to go replace a bunch of siding and patch a couple roofs, and but that happens. But that's why you
tenacity.
have
This girl's got
insurance.
tenacity.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
you didn't even file the claim.
but because again, you and just to throw it in there, but you don't need to file unless it's like so extensive because your insurance will jack up so bad that it's not even worth it.
Right.
You might as well pay. If it's under like 30 grand, we're just going to pay out of pocket.
Yeah.
If it's over 30, I'm like, let's turn it in, So that's what we do.
Awesome. Lindsay, you're awesome.
No,
Your
I
wealth of
appreciate
knowledge.
it.
Yeah.
you for
This
being
was a
here.
long one, but again, worth the listen. So
Yep.
I guarantee people got some nuggets from this.
Yeah,
and
no,
we
I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Awesome.